Hello, this is Postdoc Chronicles, week number 42. And as you can see, we have a new setup in my room. And the reason for that is this is actually a new room, a new accommodation for me. I've moved from my old accommodation yesterday, and it's a long story and one that belongs to Postdoc Chronicles, week number 43. So I'll tell you all about that next week because today, week number 42, we're talking about what happened last week. But anyway, before we delve into that, in the background right here, you can see a game called Celeste, one of the highly acclaimed indie games that is out on the Nintendo Switch. It released last year to huge, it garnered a lot of awards, game awards, and so on. And it's made by Matt Makes Games, the guys who also made Towerfall. So Towerfall, I played it on the PS Vita. It's also a great game, but it's a game well suited for multiplayer. So it doesn't work that well if you're playing it solo. Okay, but Celeste right here, it's a very hard platforming along the veins of like Super Meat Boy or The End is Nigh or Slime Son, something like that. And it tells the story of a girl named Madeline as she climbs the mountain of Celeste. So the gameplay of Celeste, when you think about it, it's pretty solid, but it's like it's something that's been done before. So a very hard platformer. But the reason why, one of the main reasons why it got those numerous awards, and it was very highly acclaimed, is because the story itself, the story of Madeline, it tells about how to face one's anxiety, insecurities, how to reach your goal and go for it even against all odds and so on. And a lot of people can really relate to the story of Madeline. Personally, so I just tried a few stages. I haven't like played it yet myself, and I heard that the B sides are also very hard, and there's like this thing called the C side, because currently right now I'm actually focusing on this game on my 3DS called Detective Pikachu, in time for, because I think in a few months, I think next month, or I'm not sure, the movie Detective Pikachu will be released. So I'm trying to finish that game. I think I'm almost done. I'm almost like towards the end. Like I'm already in the later chapters, and yeah, so far it's a fun game. The it's not that hard. Like the puzzles are not as hard as, say, I don't know, Phoenix Wright or the Professor Layton series. It's like it's really solvable, and sometimes you just have to, it's like Blue's Clues level of puzzle. But the reason why I play it is like it has this very compelling story. Although I think there's a twist that I think I already predicted, but I'm not sure if I'm right. But I think I know where the story is heading, and the interaction, between Detective Pikachu and all the other Pokemons, and all the Pokemon that are featured in the game. It's really very fascinating. Okay, but yeah, after that, I'm definitely going to play this game, because this is one of the best indie games ever made. And personally, I love indies. So after Detective Pikachu, I'm going back to. I'm definitely focusing on this game right here. Okay, so for the Postdoc Chronicles, so last week we had a Skype with Deepak and Jong. So Jong is in Munich, Germany, and then Deepak is currently in CERN when we did our Skype. And then yeah, we were basically, so Jong already made comments on the paper, what to improve, what to add, what to edit, and so on. And then also Deepak was already adding his suggestions and so on. But when we were looking out our signal background comparison, and then when I outlined to these guys what I did with the background. So Deepak saw a very huge mistake with what I made in the normalization, because the way I normalize the signal is, so after multiplying with all the factors, you divide it by the number of events that you simulated it with, because it shouldn't, your observation shouldn't depend on like how many events you're simulating, whether you're simulating like 1,000 or 10,000 or something. The only reason why you would simulate higher number of events is for your distributions to look nicer, so that you will have a smoother data points. But yeah, so I divided it with the number of simulated events, and it is fine, because uh, we have this concept known as the weights, and if you have a signal like mine generated at the uh, lowest order at the three levels, so it shouldn't be weighted, and so the total or the sum of the weights should just be equivalent to the simulated number of events. However, I did the exact same thing to our background, and Deepak said it shouldn't be the case because if I tried running, the weights variable in the background, I did see that in the signal when I printed all the weights, they're all equal to one, they're all equal to unity. But then for the background, when I printed it, they have like different values, and so I couldn't just presume to divide it by the total number of simulated events. So what I did is I did the correct normalization, but then the next problem now is now the background that we're having using the initial constraints that we have is way higher now than the signal. So what I've been doing last week is, aside from our imposition of forcing a photon inside a jet and then having a fat jet, I introduced additional constraints by looking at which particular variables are correlated with our Beano mass, the mass that we're trying to, the resonance that we're trying to reconstruct. And then, so basically, I force there to be only one photon. I force there to be, in the large jet, to be this amount of small jets and so on. And it did improve the background, but then it's still high. Okay, so I'm still thinking of other constraints to add so as to make the background even smaller. So that's our current problem right now, is again with the background. So the signal and everything is fine, but then the background, there's a problem because of the wrong factor that I used in my initial normalization for the background. Okay, but that's one for the Stealth Susi. Another thing that I made is on the Daihigs project. So we have one of the collaborators is a fellow postdoc in Finland named Subhadip. So he's like way better than me when it comes to phenomenology, because like he's been doing this, I think, when he was like undergrad or PhD or something like that. And so we're in contact with each other, and also with Jong. And so initially I gave to the group, to the collaborators, the plots of the various distributions that are relevant for the Daihik study. But then they decided, like Jong said, it would be better to use Delphi's detector simulator. So I did that, but then the problem is I was able to, the other plots look fine, but then when it comes to the B jets, the B tagging thing, mine like produce plots that are not very what do you call this, that are not very convincing, right? And then I showed it to Jong, I showed it to Subhadip, and then initially I also gave my macro file, the it's like a program that you type that will be fed to Delphis, that will be the one responsible for producing this background. So initially, Subhadip looked at it, he said it looks fine, but then I told him, can you try simulating it yourself, and then so that we can compare. And indeed, he did his own simulation of the BTAG jets. We got different results, and his results looks a little bit better because it looks similar to the plots that I got from Rivet with just the not the detector level events, just the truth level events. So we went with Subhadip. So I told him plot all the relevant distributions that are related to B tagging, because currently there's something wrong with my B tag portion of my code, and I'm still looking for what is messed up with it. And so right now, so we have this combined distribution, and then we will now be sending it to the rest of the guys, to Jong and all the Subhadip supervisor in Finland, and see what their comments will be regarding the distributions that we obtained when using the specific decay chain involving the Daihigs. Okay, but yeah. So anyway, that's all for my postdoc chronicles week number 42, and I'll see you next time for week number 43. I'm gonna have like a tour of my new room and so on. So I think so far I prefer this a little bit better than my old room, but I think the bathroom of my previous room is a bit better because it has like its own cubicle. This one only has a curtain. But anyway, I'm gonna talk about all that, and I'm gonna show all these things about my new room on the next Postdoc Chronicles week number 43. Until then, I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.